topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Good afternoon, Orlando. Welcome to another Ask the Experts, where we bring you the top experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. We do about 50 shows a month, and this show today is, without a doubt, our number one show. It has got such a large audience. People love the Kay Bender Rimbaum show. And I got to tell you, there's so many things going on. Just so you know, today's show, we're going to try to stick to the new laws that have come out for HOA and condo. So if you have a subject that's not really about the new laws, if we can, let's hold it till next month. And we want to get as many people educated as can. We are not taking phone calls because it's just too much for me to handle the show, hosting the show, and the chat line, as well as all your messages, your texts that you send to me. We have one of the top attorneys in the Kay Bender Rimbaum law firm. Let me introduce you to board certified Kirsten Henza. Kirsten, how it seems like it's been forever.
Well, hello, Steve. Yes, it's been a while.
I love doing the show with you. Your knowledge is just amazing. You are considered a community association law firm with offices in South Florida, Palm Beach County, Orlando, and Tampa. You are actually in the Tampa office, so I guess next week we'll be doing another show together. Is that right, or did you switch out with Alan?
No, that's correct. So for all the Orlando viewers, listeners, I'm Kirsten Henza, and like Steve mentioned, I'm one of the attorneys with the law firm of Kay Bender Rimbaum. I'm actually the managing attorney for our West Coast office, which is located in Tampa. My colleague, Alan Schwartzide, is the managing attorney of the Orlando office. He wasn't able to be with us today, and so I am subbing in for Alan.
He's playing hooky today. You know, Kirsten,
He's allowed.
You worked really hard to become board certified. Tell people what that means.
Well, to clarification, I'm personally not board certified, but I do know that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were.
Actually, recently, he took the test and he passed the test. So he's now officially board certified. Board certification basically requires an attorney to do a lot of studying and take an additional test. This is in addition to having taken the Florida bar to be licensed to practice law in Florida. So I know Alan worked really hard, studied hard, and his hard work paid off. He's now board certified. I'm looking to get board certified in the near future. Hopefully, once
you're so knowledgeable
of the law.
Person, you're so knowledgeable. I just assumed you were board certified.
Oh, I appreciate that, but I do have to sit in for a test to get that official board certification designation. It's coming in the near future.
Do it. You'll ace it. No problem. So we're going to to talk about, and I'm going to kind of just throw the show over to you. Um, there's a lot of new laws out there, and we can't get into all of them in one show. So I'm going to let you, I'm going to sit back and let you highlight about some of the laws that have been passed recently.
Sure. Yeah, it's been a crazy year, as many of you know, with a lot of changes recently signed by the governor. Primary bills were House Bill 1021 affecting condominium associations, and then House Bill 1023 affecting 1203, I'm sorry, affecting homeowners associations. So I just, before I highlight some of the changes, I do want to say that we do offer a legal update. The class is not yet available for CEU credits for managers. We're going to be rolling out a division-approved CEU course in the fall, but we do offer some webinars on the legislative update, which is a little bit more in depth than what I'm going to be discussing today. So I encourage listeners to just go on our website. We have a monthly schedule of all our webinars and seminars that we host throughout the entire state, really, because we do have offices in multiple locations. So check that out, and they're all for free. It's all free education, and sign up to one that's convenient for you. But with that said, I suppose we can tackle House Bill 1021, which is the condominium, the House bill that affects condominiums. So some of the more, I guess, prominent changes were to the records inspection requirements. So the statute now was amended to clarify additional records that will be now made part of the official records of the association, and which the association has to maintain. And those include invoices, receipts, deposit slips, payment records, building permits, and then the board member education certificates. Now, some of this might seem, very logical, right? But the legislature felt the need to now codify these specific documents. So the association also now has an obligation to make a good faith effort to obtain and recover any record that has been lost or destroyed or is unavailable. The association has an obligation to basically maintain official records in the ordinary course of business. But now, if an owner requests a particular record and the record is either unavailable or lost, destroyed, now you have to make a good faith effort to be able to obtain that record. Now, when an owner makes a request for inspection of records, presuming it's a proper written request, in response to that inspection request, the association is now obligated to provide a checklist to the unit owner, which identifies the records that are being made available at the inspection, as well as identify those records that were not made available. Okay, so, speak with your legal counsel. I know we have created a form checklist that we're providing to our clients. So your legal counsel may assist you with this checklist. There are enhanced penalties now for willful and repeated violations for failing to provide access to official records. It used to be that, if an owner made an official request and the association failed to comply, a division complaint was typically filed by an owner. And then depending on the extent of the violation, it used to be that the division would just send you a warning letter, basically a slap on the wrist. Don't do it again, association, right? Now, this conduct is criminalized. So the director knowingly, there has to be intent though. So if a director knowingly, willfully, and then also another magic word, repeatedly fails to provide access to the official records, then this violation constitutes now a misdemeanor in the second degree. So a misdemeanor in the second degree carries a penalty of either a fine of $500 or imprisonment not exceeding 60 days. Now, repeatedly is further defined in the statute to mean 2 or more violations in a 12-month period. So again, this is not pertaining to the association or the board members, being negligently failing to respond to an official request for inspection of records. This has to be conduct that is, again, knowingly, willfully, and then repeatedly, right? 2 or more violations. That's the big one for records inspection. Now, condominium associations currently have a requirement for having a website and posting certain records on website, and the current threshold is 150 units. So if you're a condominium with 150 units, you should have had a website by now. Okay, that threshold is changing. Okay. So effective January 1st of 2026, those condominiums with 25 units or more are now also required to have websites and then post certain documents on their website. And the laundry list of documents you have to post is set forth in the statute.
Is there a penalty if they don't do it?
Right now, there's no penalty. Now, HOAs governed under Chapter 720 also have a website requirement, and I'll touch on that when I discuss House Bill 1203. Now, if the board is going to have a board meeting at which it's looking to adopt a contract, and a lot of boards are now having a lot of meetings, adopting a lot of contracts relative to the milestone inspection and the SIRS, the reserve schedules. So if you're going to adopt a contract, well, now the statute says that the notice and the agenda of the meeting at which the board will be considering or adopting a contract now has to be provided with the notice. Okay. And then obviously the contract is also has to be made available for inspection by owners. So it does become part of the official records of the association. The association also cannot waive financial reporting requirements for consecutive years. So as many of the listeners might know, each association has to prepare a financial report within a certain time frame, right? At the end of the fiscal year, with regard to the financial activities of the preceding year. Now, the level of the financial report has to be based on the total annual revenue of the association. So 718 and actually 720 both provide the schedule of what financial reporting requirement you have to do based on your annual revenue. So if your association if the total annual revenue of the association is $500,000 or more, then by statute you have to do an audit. You can do a lesser financial report, right? But now the statute says you just can't do a lesser financial report in consecutive years.
Let me just tell everybody we're here with
Sure.
Attorney Kristen Henza. She's an attorney at the K. Bender Rimbaum law firm. We're talking about condo and HOA association, some of the new laws that are out for this year that the governor signed. Go ahead, Kirsten.
Sure. We're still with condominiums. This is House Bill 1021. Let's see. So for condominiums with more than 10 units, boards now have to hold a board meeting at least quarterly. So one board meeting a quarter. That's the minimum. Now you might be having board meetings more regularly, and certainly, special board meetings when you have specific action that you need to take. But the minimum requirement now is at least one board meeting a quarter. Now, in addition, at least 4 times a year, and the statute doesn't say if it has to be at least once a quarter, but at least 4 times in a year, you have to also provide owners with the opportunity to ask questions. So the agenda of the meeting has to include an opportunity for owners to ask questions. Now, most associations, allow, or most boards allow owners to, speak as to designated agenda items, right? Which is what you're supposed to be doing under the law. But now there's this additional requirement to let owners speak at least, or ask questions at least 4 times a year. And they can ask questions specifically as to the status of the construction project, as well as the revenues and expenses of the current fiscal year. What the statute doesn't provide, interestingly enough, is the requirement for the boards to answer those questions. So just be aware of that. Owners have the opportunity to ask. The board doesn't have a reciprocal requirement to respond to the questions. Now, board certification classes. Interesting change. It used to be that condominium board members recently appointed or elected could do one of the 2 things, right? They could either certify that they read the documents and sign a certificate saying they read the documents and that they were going to uphold the document to the best of their ability, or they could attend a board certification class approved by the division. That has changed. Now, condominium board members have to do both. They have to certify that they've read the documents, and they have to attend a board certification class approved by the division within 90 days of being elected or appointed. In addition, so the board certification class now has to be at least 4 hours long. Okay, now our firm, and I know many other firms, do these types of board certification classes, and ours has traditionally been 2 hours, right? That's literally how long it takes to cover all the materials you need to know to be able to properly conduct association business, and for you to be able to be a knowledgeable board member, so you know what to do. Now the legislature requires this class to be 4 hours. Okay, that's the initial one, and it also has to cover certain topics, including but not limited to the milestone inspection, SERVs, elections, board governance, and other topics. Then once the director takes this board certification class, they do have a continuing annual requirement to do at least 1 hour of continuing education every year. Okay, and specifically have it to do with changes in the statute or the administrative code. Both certificates are going to be valid for 7 years as long as the director serves on the board uninterrupted. And then you must also certify annually that all directors complied with the educational requirements. So that's it for the board certification. And then one other change that's also very prominent is boards now of residential and mixed-use condominiums also have to adopt hurricane protection specifications. Okay. Now, note for board members that are looking to adopt these hurricane protection specs. And that can be on, color, style, material, and any other factor deemed relevant by the board. And hurricane protection can be, for shutters, hurricane impact windows, glass, doors, etc. Just note that just as a practical tip, when you adopt specifications, because it affects potentially the use of the unit, the statute does require that notice of meetings at which the board is going to be adopting rules concerning unit use, that they be mailed to owners in advance, 14 days in advance of the meeting. So it's not going to be just a 48-hour posted notice, rather a 14-day notice that is mailed to the owners, okay? And then once you adopt your specifications, be sure to send a copy of the specs to all the unit owners in order for those specs to become effective. That's it for the condominium.
Listen, I'll bet you your phone is ringing off the hook nowadays.
We're definitely getting a lot of interesting questions from clients. Unfortunately, the legislature just, doesn't think of a lot of things when they adopt these changes. And so now we have to deal with the practical side of things, right? How do we apply this to real life? And so, as attorneys, we are still processing these changes ourselves, discussing them internally, and then, just figuring out, how best to respond to clients.
What are some of the biggest questions you're getting?
Well, I think the most notable ones have to do with the CSRS, because as many listeners are hopefully aware by now, you have to complete your CSRS by the end of the year. And so there's a lot of questions about funding CSRS, pre-funding CSRS, et cetera. So that's really a hot topic. But you know what? Official records is also another. Official records has always been a hot topic. So that hasn't changed.
Well,
so up to you if you want to take a break, or I can move on to the HOA.
You know what? Let's go to commercial. We'll give your throat a rest. And we come back, we'll talk about, first of all, let's talk about the classes you've got coming up. And we'll get back into the show.
Sounds good.
We'll be right back. Give everybody the phone number, first of all. Do you have the number for the Tampa office? I mean, the Orlando office?
So the main number for the our main location, which is in Pompano Beach, Florida, is 954-928-0680. But if you call that main number, our receptionist will direct you to whichever office you're looking to get, whether it's Orlando, Tampa, Pompano, Palm Beach. So one number, 954-928-0680.
Okay, let's go to break. We come back, we'll have more with Ask the Experts and Kay Bender Rimbaum.
Kay Bender Rimbaum is a full-service community association law firm dedicated to the representation of community associations throughout Florida. On kbrlegal.com, you can learn more about their offices in Pompano Beach, Palm Beach Gardens, Orlando, Tampa, as well as throughout Miami-Dade by appointment. Several Kay Bender Rimbaum attorneys are board-certified specialists in condominium and plan development law and assist clients with all matters of community association legal issues while keeping them up to date on new developments that affect their associations. Kay Bender Rimbaum is also a well-known provider of free legal education for managers and board members. Contact Kay Bender Rimbaum today by calling 800-974-0680. That's 800-974-0680 to reach any of their locations. You can also visit them online at kbrlegal.com or write to them at info@kbrlegal.com.
And we are back with the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV with your hosts, Steve-O, Sophia, and their expert guests.
Back, I'm your host, Steve-O. This is the Ask the Expert show, our 12th year. Long time. In fact, Kay Bender-Rimbaum has been with us 10 of those years. We're talking about these new laws, these HOA and condo laws, and we have attorney Kirsten Hensa, and she's been doing the show now for a while, does a great job explaining. You've got some classes coming up.
Yes, Steve, we do. So for the month of August, we have jumping into the present, the importance of updating the governing documents. And this one in particular is August 8th and will be taught by one of our main partners, Jeffrey Rembaum. He is from the Palm Beach Gardens office. And I've taught this webinar as well, and it's extremely useful for those associations that are looking to update their governing documents. And now more than ever is a good time to take a look at your documents and how they jive with the new statutory changes, and then seek out further guidance from your legal counsel about potentially amending or changing anything that you might feel necessary to better protect the interests of the association. We also have association leadership on August 14th. That's with Mike Bender and also Jeff Rembaum. We have Alan is teaching August 16th a class on the legal update. Now, this is the 2024 legal update that covers the changes that took effect in July 1st of 2023. There's still a lot of managers that are looking to get their credits before the end of the year, and so this is one of those courses they still need to take. So it's being offered again. Where attorney Emily Gannon from the Pompano office is also doing a jumping into the present class in August 22nd, also about updating governing documents. Now, August 23rd, attorney Danielle Brennan from our Palm Beach Gardens office will be teaching a class on fair housing, assistance animals, and pets. That's always an interesting one.
Yes.
And Michael Bender will actually be doing the 4-hour condominium board certification class. Actually, this one is already available for CU credits, and that's going to be September 5th. Okay, so the condo 4-hour board certification class, the first one rolling out, it's going to be September 5th. And then covenant enforcement class, September 10th. And that one's going to be taught by Alan. And I might be teaching a board certification class for homeowners associations in August as well. So stay tuned. We should be posting that date on the firm website soon.
Kirsten, your firm is one of the largest firms in Florida, very busy firm, but I think it's just so impressive how your firm really believes in education. And you do all these free seminars, and it's just amazing how special, how important education is to Kay Bender-Rimbaum.
It is, and we, it takes hours to prepare the slides. Obviously, getting these courses approved with the division, so we have to send them an outline, and then preparing for the class. So it takes a lot of effort and time. So,
well, the classes are so important, and I'm just glad that Kay Bender-Rimbaum is just so up on these courses that they offer for free, by the way. And I guess let's go on. Let's continue with the show.
Let's do it. So let's just quickly go over some of the changes that were made to the HOA statute, which is Chapter 720 of the Florida statute. This was House Bill 1203, and by the way, all these House Bill 1203 and then House Bill 1021 all took effect July 1st. Okay, so these are all changes that are currently in effect. All right, for HOAs, they have a website requirement as well. So communities with 100 or more parcels are now required to have a website and post certain records on the website. The deadline for doing this is January 1st of 2025. So it's a little bit of a shorter deadline than the requirement for the condominiums. Now, I wonder why the legislature just couldn't come up with the same date for both, because that would just be too easy. But be that as it may, for HOAs, the requirement is January 1st of 2025, and for condominiums, it's January 1st of 2026. There's a requirement now, also codified. If you get a subpoena from a law enforcement, you're now required to furnish the documents requested or provide access to these documents, official records, within 5 business days of receiving the subpoena. Communities now with 1,000 parcels or more, regardless of income, are required now to obtain an audit. Now, just like with the condominium statute, HOAs are required to prepare a financial report of the prior year's financial activities, okay? And the level of the financial reporting is going to depend on the annual revenue of the association. So Chapter 720 has set forth the dollar threshold, okay, required for each type of financial reporting requirement. So as it currently stands, only associations with annual revenue of $500,000 or more are required to do an audit, unless, of course, the bylaws of the HOA specifically require an audit. Well, now House Bill 1203 modified that requirement slightly, and if you're an association that manages at least 1,000 parcels or more, you have to do an audit regardless of your annual revenue. Similarly, with the condominium statutes, the association can prepare a lesser financial report. It just can't be done for consecutive years. So if you are required to do, compiled financial report, and that's an accounting term, you could have the membership vote for the association to do a lesser financial reporting requirement. You just can't do it for consecutive years now. The statute now expressly prohibits the use of debit cards by HOAs, which was always prohibited with condominiums, but now it's prohibited for HOAs.
What does that mean, Kirsten, that you can't use a debit card?
Yes. So if a debit card has been issued to the association as opposed to a credit card,
okay,
you'll be using that.
That makes sense.
So the statute also criminalizes certain conduct, such as receiving kickbacks. It subjects now directors to imprisonment and fines. Board certification requirements were also changed. Again, it used to be that with HOAs, directors could either sign a certificate attesting to having read the governing documents and certifying that they were going to uphold them to the best of their ability, or do one of these board certification classes. Now they have to attend a board certification class within 90 days of being elected or appointed. The certificate for the course, it will be valid for 4 years once you take the board certification class. and it has to be retained in the official records for at least 5 years. The directors have to complete the board certification class at least every 4 years. Now, there's no specific requirement yet for the HOA board certification class to be 4 hours. And like I mentioned, ours has traditionally been about 2 hours. But then once you take that board certification class, you have to take another one at least once every 4 years. Now, if you are an HOA that operates or governs a community with less than 2,500 parcels, then board members now have an additional continuing education requirement of 4 hours annually. If you're in an HOA with more than 2,500 parcels, then you have 8 hours of continuing education after you've done your initial board certification class. I mean, I don't even think that attorneys have such a high requirement for their continuing education. So this is incredible.
Do you have to be an attorney to teach the classes?
Well, with respect to the law, yes, because you cannot provide legal guidance in Florida without a license. Now, there have been a lot of changes to the statute that affect substantive rights of owners. And that has to do with this term that has been used a lot frequently, and has to do with Kaufman. So let me go over the changes first, and then we can just briefly touch on what Kaufman means in light of these changes. So HOAs cannot regulate interior changes. So if an owner wants to do an alteration or improvement within the parcel, within the home, the association can no longer require ARC approval or deny any requests, provided the change is not visible from the exterior. It's not visible from the frontage, the adjacent parcel, the common areas, or golf course. And if you think about this, it makes sense, right? Because typically with HOAs, you have single family homes. So whether an owner wants to update a kitchen or not, I mean, it doesn't seem to affect other parcels in the community.
Right.
But the problem with that is that there are HOAs that are townhomes, or there are townhomes that are governed under Chapter 720 of the Florida statute. And as we know, with townhomes, there are shared walls and there are shared roofs, right? So depending on the type of alteration or improvement that is being contemplated by the owner, it could potentially affect the shared walls. So that is not addressed in the statute, and could be problematic. So we'll see if this issue is further addressed in the next legislative session. But you also cannot deny a request for an HVAC system replacement if you can't see the HVAC unit from the frontage, from an adjacent parcel, the common areas, or golf course, and if the system is one that's substantially similar to other ones that the association has approved in the past. A big one is that an HOA cannot prohibit the parking of personal vehicles, including pickup trucks, on driveways or any other parking area in which individuals are allowed to park under local ordinance. HOAs cannot prohibit owners, tenants, guests, or invitees from bringing or parking their working vehicles in the community, which are not commercial vehicles. Now, commercial vehicles are specifically defined in a different statute. And it basically, a commercial vehicle is one that exceeds a certain weight. I'm trying to find this in my notes so I can reference this for the owners. So it's section 320.01, subsection 25 of the Florida statutes that defines commercial vehicles. Again, that's section 320.01, subsection 25. And basically, a commercial vehicle is one that has a gross vehicle weight of 26,001 pounds or has 3 or more axles. So what, traditionally, is contemplated in the documents as commercial vehicle, which is, typically a pickup truck or
Right.
a van that has some kind of signage, Joe's Plumbing, or
A lot
has
of these
a ladder.
landscape companies.
Correct, or has a ladder and buckets on the bed of the truck. That is not what is considered a commercial vehicle. Okay, so a working truck that does not meet this definition of commercial vehicle, so less than 26,000 pounds, is allowed to park in a community now. HOAs cannot prohibit an owner from hiring a contractor or allowing a contractor to access the parcel just because the contractor doesn't have a license or just because the contractor is not on the preferred vendor list of the association. So you can't require proof of license for a contractor that's doing work for a homeowner. Let's see. Now, a separate bill, House Bill 293. Now that one became effective May 28 of 2024. So it's been in effect for a couple of months now. That had to do with hurricane protection. Now, an HOA has to adopt hurricane protection specifications, again, as to color, style, material, and any other factors deemed relevant to the board. And hurricane protection is defined. It's a defined term in the statute, which includes, roof systems, shutters, impact windows, doors, and any other similar structure. So if you haven't done so already, the boards of HOAs have to adopt hurricane protection standards. And just like I mentioned with the condominiums, notice of the meeting at which you're going to be adopting specs should be mailed out to the owners at least 14 days prior to the meeting, not just a 48-hour notice. And then once you adopt the specs, then make sure you provide a copy of the specs to the owners. All right, briefly on fines, HOAs cannot fine owners for leaving their garbage receptacles out within 24 hours before or after designated garbage days. And you also cannot fine homeowners for leaving their holiday decorations or lights up unless they have not removed them after 1 week after the association provides written notice. Most associations will probably, give notice to the owner saying, hey, your Christmas lights are on, right, or up, in the month of June, make sure you bring them down. And then if they don't, then you can proceed with fining, provided those lights are still up a week after you send that notice. The fining procedure itself hasn't changed. It's substantially in the same form. It's a two-step process with the board adopting the fine and then the committee hearing, and then the committee confirming the fine at a committee hearing. That hasn't changed, but additional requirements were added to this process. Specifically, the the committee hearing has to now be held within 90 days of issuing that 14-day committee hearing notice. So now there's a time requirement within which that hearing has to be set. Still need to mail out that 14-day notice. Cannot collect the fine if the violation has been remediated within the time frame provided in the notice or at any point before the hearing. You have to now provide owners with the committee findings within 7 days of having that hearing. And then you also cannot require payment of the fine less than 30 days from notice of the approved fine. All right, I think that's it for the major highlights. But please, this is not. I didn't go over a lot of other changes, so I encourage you to attend one of our legislative updates that we'll be having soon.
Is this normal to have this many new laws in 1 year?
Well, I mean, I can tell you, I have been practicing I've been with the firm since 2010, and every year the legislature, passes new laws. And in years past, and I remember just kind of skimming through some of the changes. No big deal, moving on. But recently, I mean, this is a lot. This is a lot. So what I wanted to mention briefly in the few minutes we have left with Kaufman is that whether a lot of these substantive changes, like the ones about the vehicles, whether those apply to your community will depend on whether you have Kaufman language in your declaration. And Kaufman refers to the magic words as amended from time to time, referenced at the end of either Chapter 718 or 720 in your declaration. So typically on the first page of the declaration, you'll have something to the effect of, this association is governed under Chapter 718 or 720 as amended from time to time. If you have that verbiage, which is Kaufman, then all these changes will retroactively apply to your community. If you don't, then there's a constitutional argument that the law that applies is the one that was in effect when your declaration was recorded and not these changes. But I'm oversimplifying this concept. This is a very complex concept in the law. So I please speak with your legal counsel as to the applicability of a lot of these substantive changes to your community.
Kirsten, you would not believe how many people are writing saying what a wonderful job you did today.
Mm-hmm. I spoke fast.
A lot of new laws out there. Well, we appreciate it. And we'll be back again with you next month. We'll take your questions in. The name of the firm is K. Bender Rimbaum. Let's give the phone number out again in the website.
Yes. The main number is 954-928-0680. And I believe the website is kbrlegal.com.
That's it. Kirsten, great job. Have a wonderful weekend. And we'll see you, I guess, Tuesday?
Yes, sir. For the
All
Tampa
right.
show.
Thanks so much.
See you then.
That's Kirsten Hinsa. K. Bender Rimbaum. Hey, that's it for us today. We'll be back again with you next week with more Ask the Experts. Have a good weekend, everybody. God bless.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Experts show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.